I'd like to welcome everyone tonight on behalf of the Coastal Lake Area Community Church and presentations that we're going to be making for the next month on our what we call Community Awareness. And before I introduce Linda tonight, who's going to be our lead star, and she does that well, she's going to do one on hot and cold cultures. And then next week we have Juniper from Colima, and he's going to let us know about pelletera, which are these mats that they make, and they produce a ring out of them. And anyway, it's quite interesting. You can Google it if you like, and it's very interesting. On January 30th, there won't be one because it coincides with another event going on in the community. And February 6th, this is going to be a fun one too. We're going to have the people from the University of Guadalajara, and they're going to help us out in understanding what they're doing about coral reef rescue. So that's very interesting. We look forward to that. And then on February 13th, Dr. Herlinda from Barra is going to share with us about some of the medical things that happen down here and what we would do if we get sick, and about dengue and all of that. So that's going to be very informative also. Just to let you know that after the presentations, we take up, you would call it what would you call it?
Donation.
A donation, yeah. And that donation goes to, half of it goes to the presenter, and the other half goes to the community awareness program that we carry on here at the church. And there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions afterwards, and we're going to ask you to just stand up, and we'll hand you a mic so everybody can hear, and Linda can hear you. And another thing to let you know is you need to kind of fix your hair, whatever you want to do, because you're being recorded. And if that bothers you, just kind of slide to the outside. So anyway, just to let you know that, just so you're comfortable with that. And without any further ado, I'm going to invite Linda Deo Ruth to come forward, and she's going to present on hot and cold.
Thank you. Hi guys. How's the volume? Great to be here. Not only are they going to be videoing, so if you're here with someone you shouldn't be here with, you do want to get out of this zone, because then it's going to YouTube. So, hello. I encourage everyone to take pictures and send them to me, because you know me, I'm a Facebook junkie. I love Facebook. So, my name is Linda Bello Ruiz. I am originally from Northern California. 1 hour, now I live an hour above San Francisco in a town called Santa Rosa, famous for all of our fires. Then from November to April, I live in the Barrio de Barra de Navidad. I've been visiting this area since, I know you won't believe this because I look so young, since December of 1968. And so 50-some years. I came here with my oldest sister the second time she brought her family down to explore this area. She fell in love with it, lived in Barra full-time 35 years. Because of her influence, I'm here, and may she rest in peace. So that first experience began my learning of differences in culture. I was a young teen, but I was clueless. I thought it important to learn Spanish words so that I could talk to the cute boys, right? But I never imagined that there would be a difference in culture. I innocently believed that we all thought and lived the same, just with a different language. Does anybody believe that? No, I did as a teen. So I've spent the last 50-some years involved in the Latin American culture. I was married to a South American, later to a Mexican from Michoacan. I've lived in Costa Rica and Mexico while traveling several times through Central America and into South America. As a young woman, I co-founded and directed the House of Hope, Costa Rica's very first halfway house for prostitutes and street girls, minor prostitutes and street girls. It's a part of my life that I've documented in my first book, my memoir. And later I worked for 26 years in the United States as a bilingual, bicultural counselor. So I've got a little bit of background to present today. Like me back in the 60s, who I was back then, thousands of us go home after visiting foreign lands and glowing about the great experience we have among the people, but rarely knowing or understanding the other side of the story. The confusion that we may have left in our wake. I personally, as a teen, enjoyed making out on the beach with a fisherman's son that I met, and dancing at the Terraza Capri, which is now the Sunset Bar that many people go to in Barra. And I danced with abandon, doing the twist and the shimmy and things that we routinely danced up in the States, never thinking I was leaving behind the image of a loose, immoral American girl. Others have had the experience of seeing Northerners drink too much, be boisterous, loud, crude, impatient, and demanding. And while such behavior shouldn't be accepted anywhere, it's not so abnormal up north where it's a more me culture. But in the hot climate culture we're going to talk about tonight, those type of individuals leave behind the ugly American tag. And I've never heard the ugly Canadian tag because you guys are nicer. But there is that ugly American tag. So let's talk about the cultural differences. And you're most likely here tonight because you want to learn, and that's exciting, and I'm so happy you're here. Over the last 6 years, I presented each year during these weeks, and this has been one of the most popular that I've been asked to present on. So, we're going to talk about CCC, cold climate culture, and HCC, hot climate culture. They are different. Those that are raised in CCC are the individuals that were born and raised in cold climates, which required them, us, you, to live many months inside. And that requires being indoors, self-sufficient. That's Canada, northern US, northern Europe. Those in the HCC are those that live in the hot climates, outdoors much of the time, interrelating with their neighbors, depending on their neighbors, forming bonds. And those areas include the southern US, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Asia, Pacific Islands, Mexico, Central America, and South America. So here today, how many are from CCC, cold climate culture? And how many from HCC, hot climate culture? Great. Okay, so here's some examples of the cultural norms of those from the CCC, and let's see if it resonates with you. Keeping in mind that these are descriptors, simple handles in which to grasp these cultural differences and similarities. So they may not describe you, but probably a friend, someone in your home, someone in your family. The CCC includes the individual comes first. It is a me culture. Privacy and personal space is valued. We have our limits, our boundaries. Task-oriented. We are structured. The goal is to be efficient. get the job done, plan the job ahead, show up on time. And we are time-oriented. Live by the clock or the watch or the cell phone. Time is valued. It's a sign of competence, integrity, and respect. And in the U.S., we say time is money. Time is money. So does any of that describe any of you? Yeah. Okay, so in contrast, and that's what we know, right? It's how we were born, it's how we live, it's how we grow up, it's our norm, it's what we feel good about, and it's how we live our lives. And then we come here, and we're coming into the hot climate culture. So let's look at that. Their relationships, they're all about relationships. So their goal is to promote a feel-good atmosphere. Truth takes a back seat to the relationship. So they won't say no to you, even though they don't want to do something, because it's not okay to disappoint you. They tend to be spontaneous, unplanned, drop in to visit, stay a while. Last week I saw a post on Facebook from a northerner who lives here year-round, someone from the CCC, and it said, "Do not come to my house unannounced. I will not open my door." And I thought, well, she's real CCC. And that's not, obviously people have been dropping by to visit. That's not atypical for the cold climate culture, but it's very weird for our hosts down here. They respond to what life brings. They are event-oriented, not oriented to time on the clock. So if you've been invited, and I'm sure most of you have been through this, if you've been invited to a party, starts at 4 o'clock, arrive around 4:30 or 4:45. You can even arrive at 5 and that won't be rude. You won't even be late. One time I arrived 4 o'clock years ago. 4 o'clock, I'm there at 4 o'clock. They're still setting everything up. And it's like, oh no, you can wait and come back at 5. But it said 4. Well, that's when we start getting ready for the party. So, all right. And here it is the us, the group mentality. So that's very different. In the cold climate culture, we're about thinking, that thinking personality. I'm going to tell you what I think. So if your hair looks bad, I'll tell you in private, hopefully, so as not to embarrass you, but I'm going to tell you what I think if you ask me. If you're in my home and you're making noise in the morning, I'm going to tell you. Because if I don't tell you, how are you going to know? Right? So that's very normal. But let's contrast that with the feeling personality. The feeling type person here usually has people as their primary focus. So they won't tell you the truth if it's going to ruin the relationship. So, by gosh, your hair looks great, even if it doesn't. It is best in their belief system to smile and accept and to be honest. Not that they're dishonest, but they do not want to hurt your relationship with them. So by saying no, they are not saying no, they are wanting to please. Years ago, I set up counseling services for my neighbor, a young boy with lots of problems, and so I set up professional counseling for him and his mother. And she said she would go. He said he would go. He was 8. And they didn't go. And I couldn't understand that. And it's like, you said you would go. They said they would go so they wouldn't displease me. And that's something that I had to learn. So what I should have said is, if you'd like to go to counseling, which I, as a counselor in my past thinks would benefit you as a family. If you want to go, I will pay for it. Let me know. Because then there's no push that they have to say yes, not to disappoint me. Don't ask yes or no questions. Get information in an indirect way. I with the same young boy, my neighbor, I'm loving my neighbor, I would say, did you go to school today? He'd say yes. He hadn't. He just didn't want to disappoint me by saying he hadn't gone. So I learned to say, how was school today? What did you learn? So there is a way out for him to say, oh, I didn't go. Or my mom, what he would usually say is, my mom didn't take me. Have you ever asked for directions and got them, but they were wrong? This happened in Manzanillo this morning. Nobody wants to disappoint. So they would rather tell you something than not to help. So what we did this morning was we went a little bit with the first person, went into an OXO and asked, went a little bit further with that next person, and then stopped to ask, and we got there. So, it's funny. There are so many other things, though, that bother the new or the first-time visitors to Mexico. And I'm sure you have this list: garbage, trash on the street, dogs who aren't cared for as we care for them up north, noise and parties late into the night, fireworks sounding like bombs. And I've even heard many times tourists upset that their waiter does not speak or understand English or French. I usually bite my tongue or upset on how long it took for the drink or dinner to arrive and then post it on Facebook that it's not a good place to go. And it's just hurtful in so many ways. I ask you to remember that we are the visitors. This is their country. Their language is Spanish. It's their village, their culture, and it is not for us to impose. We are here to enjoy, to relax, to accept, and not judge. And drink margaritas, but that's on the side. So let me talk a little bit about Mexican values. Here in Mexico, the family is the center of the social structure. Outside of major cities, families are still quite large. My second ex-husband has 10 siblings. 10, 12 children are very common, at least they used to be. And then there is the extended family that makes it even larger. There's the nuclear, mother, father, children. There's the extended aunt, uncle, grandparents, and they may, nieces, nephews, and they may all live in the same house. It's an extended family culture here, and it is so that they can assist each other. It may also include madrinas y padrinos, which I'm going to explain on the whiteboard here in a moment. Mexicans consider it their duty and responsibility to help family members. For example, they will help find employment, they will bring men to live with them if they need a place to stay, or even finance a house, or a business, or another large purpose. There is this need to help family. And you will hear that, but he's my family. Most Mexican families are traditional, extremely. The father's the head of the house. He's got the last word. He's the authority figure. Mothers are greatly revered, but their role may be seen secondary to their husband. So, padrinos and madrinas. This is why I asked for a whiteboard. And you might hear talk in Spanish. Oh, es mi madrina. Oh, es mi padrino. Oh, comadre, compadre. So here we have a child. There's the child. He has a mother and a father that starts his relationship. Then at birth, especially in the Catholic country and the Catholic religion, there's going to be a baptism pretty soon after. And the parents are going to choose the madrina and padrino of baptism. And that couple are not only friends of the parents, they have a very important role. They are to walk alongside that child for life. So it is very important who they choose to be the madrino or the padrino. Then so this, let's say, is baptism. Then comes confirmation. Many times it's a different madrina and padrino. So we've got the madrina and padrino of baptism and the madrina and padrino of confirmation. So two sets of padrinos. Some might choose the same couple, but not always. So this cute little baby, by age of confirmation around 6, has a mother, a father, and two sets of padrinos. They will never call these people by their name. They will always say madrina, padrino. Then there's another relationship. These, the mother, father, madrina, padrino, have now joined as family, and they are a comadre and a compadre. And that word co is together. So now they were friends, Jose and Luisa, but now they are referred to as comadre, ¿cómo está? Compadre, ¿cómo está? So it becomes, that family gets bigger and united. The other word that comes in here that's important is the padrinos and madrinas now call the child mi ahijada or mi ahado, girl or boy. So this is that part of this expansion of the Mexican family. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So if you hear as people talk, you'll be in a restaurant and someone comes in and go, compadre, you will know what they're talking about. Beyond the church. Yes?
Can you say that again?
I can't hear her, Pastor. Ahijado. Y ahijada? Yeah, so if you look, it's inside this word, I'm sorry, ahijada. There's inside this word is hijo and hija, which means child, right? So that the definition of that is godson, goddaughter. Ahijado, ahijada. Yes. So the first is, in this case, is from baptism and then for confirmation. But hold on, more are coming. Yes.
So does each child in the family have a different set of...
Usually.
They're all family.
And they all become family. And that's why those parties that you hate to hear all night are so big. Because there's a lot of people included in this family.
I don't quite understand the comadre and compadre.
Okay.
Who are they and what are their responsibilities?
Thank you. So there's not that it's a responsibility, but I have a goddaughter. So she's my ahijada. Her mother and I are comadres. We call each other that. We never say our names. It's comadre, ¿cómo está? And we are thus co-parenting this child. So the name is what is used to identify that me and she are together, working together as the mother of this child. But like I said, there's more coming. Yes?
Of all the children born in Mexico, did not what happened? Can you have more than one?
Okay, he's going to bring you, it's a great question, but he's going to bring you the mic so everybody can hear. Right here, in the back.
Okay, with all the children born in Mexico, could one person have more than one ahijada?
Yes.
They'd have
Oh
to-
yeah, you can have a whole slew of them. If you've been chosen to be their madrina o padrino, then I've got several, yes. Okay, so this is the beginning of that part of the extended family. But beyond this definition comes in some more. So, we've got this child who has a mom, a dad, a madrina, padrino, a baptism, a madrino, padrino of confirmation, and it's a girl. I'm going to make this baby a girl. And she's getting older, and she turns 15. What comes at age 15? La quinceañera. The quinceañera, the 15th birthday, the coming of age, the coming out, this is their big year. They used to be the marrying age at 15. Well, those parties are huge. They're like a wedding. In fact, there's a church ceremony, there's a mass, there's a huge thing going on. You've seen the beautiful dresses, and she's got all the quinceañera girlfriends coming behind her, and the chamalan, the boys coming in, and that's expensive. So what do parents do for this child? Well, you start out getting help from madrina y padrino y madrina y padrino, but that may not be enough, so you add new ones. So, for the quinceañera, you can be the padrino of the beer. You can be the madrina of the cake. You can be the madrina of the dress, and the madrina of the shoes, and the padrina of the sound system. And it all gets out there so everybody can help you in your quinceañera, and now you have all these other madrinas y padrinos, and they are called, él es mi padrino, and may specify as mi padrino de quinceañera. But there's more. Our child here someday is going to get married. Weddings, like the quinceañera, are expensive. So if you're going to do a big wedding, what do you need? Padrinos and madrinas. So in comes padrino of the cake, and the madrina of the shoes, and the padrino of the beer, and the madrina, on and on and on. I've been trying to become madrina for the wedding of Laura's mayor, my friend, and I want it to happen while I'm here because I want to be madrina. I want to be the madrina of the dress. So they bought a car instead. So this is that whole concept of madrina y padrino. So now you know when you hear that what it means. And then the comadres and the copadres. I mean, I love being called comadre. Just a neat feel. Okay, now we're going to talk about another confusing, oh, we have a question. The abuelos are the grandparents? No. No. I don't get to be the madrina of none of my grandkids' lives. No. I'm the grandmother. Yeah. So now, we're going to talk about last names. How many last names do you have? How many last names do you hear here in Mexico? Throughout Latin America, yeah. There's a reason for that. So, here in Mexico, you have your first name, and many times it's the saint's name. If you were born on Saint Jose name, your first name is Jose. If you're born on St. Patrick's Day, your name most likely will be Patricio. Or if you're a girl, Patricia. So, we have first name, many times a saint name. Then we have a middle name. Then the first last name, which is the father. So that's the paternal, I think that's how it's said, paternal last name. And then after that, you have the maternal last name. I'm trying not to give my back to the camera because it's not my best side. Maternal. So, I was married to Jose, born on Saint Jose Day. That's just the way it is. His middle name is Luis. His father's last name, that whole male group of the family, are the Ruizes. And then the mother of that family is from the Perez family. So his full name is Jose Luis Ruiz Perez. So, it is short-sighted and rude up north in coal culture that when they're up there and they're applying for documents, the officials want them to have one last name. And in many places, when Jose was first in the United States, he was listed as Jose Perez. Because obviously they were just grabbing the last name of the last name. What that does, culturally, is it robs him of having a father. His name is not Jose Perez. It's Jose Luis Perez. What happens by having those two last names, everybody knows who you are. Ah, Jose, the son of Diego and Luisa, because everybody are known by their names. You can get in a lot of trouble because everybody knows the families you belong to by your last name. In Barra, we have a lot of Pelayos. And every time I hear somebody and they go, Pelayo, oh, Polo Pelayos family. Yeah, I'm the cousin, I'm the uncle, I'm the whatever. There's a attraction, there's a connection there. So that's why you hear so many last names. And we do not want to stop that culture up north by taking one of them away. Upon marriage, women normally keep their last name. So it's hard to figure out the man and the woman that are legally married because she doesn't drop her name to grab his. They have the identity of their own names. In Costa Rica, where I used to live, one of my best friends, what her mother had done was she took off the maternal last name and added in of de me servir. She was very proud of having family from France that had come to Costa Rica. So she became de me servir. That is not as common anymore, and it might be the women's lib movement. Nobody wants to be I am of him, so they don't so much use the de, but that's how it used to be. My last two names have nothing cultural about them. As we do up north, when I married Bello, Fernando Bello, I dropped my last name, Casels, and I added his name, Bello. When I divorced him and years later married Jose Luis Ruiz Perez, I added Ruiz to my last name. So I am Linda, first name. We don't use much formally our middle names. And then I am Bello Ruiz, legally on all my documents. That's just because you get to do that up north. So I left the guys and kept their names. In a nice way. Okay, any questions on last names? Yes.
So the child who comes from the parents, each of whom have two surnames, what does the child get?
I'm sorry, what?
Each person has two surnames.
Has two last names?
Yeah.
Oh, the
Two last names.
two last names.
So when they have a child, what last names does the child get?
Of the father and the mother.
Which one? They got two.
So here's it. The child is born of Mr. Ruiz and Mrs. Perez. The child would be Sonia Ruiz Perez. So if Jose Ruiz, you're always going to keep your paternal, had married a Latina, so Ruiz being the paternal last name, and married someone whose paternal last name, father to father, is Santoya, the new child is Ruiz Santoya, father, mother, and it goes on and on and on. Now it's a new grouping. The Ruiz is still in the picture, but they've added in the Santoya. Good. Yes, they would drop the paternal at that case and keep the paternal. Okay, well, let's move on. We're going to talk about dogs. For many years, Mexicans and many other cultures around the world have seen dogs as an animal with no human feelings, an animal whose job it is to alert that somebody is near, approaching. Dogs are put on rooftops once they are no longer cute and entertaining. They are chained to trees and hardly let off. They're the last ones fed and not fed if the family is poor. And when they're sick or no longer entertaining, they're sent to the street. Heartbreaking to all of us. So why is that? Because that's the way it's always been. And until a family member breaks that mold and treats a dog as more than an animal and passes on that custom to his or her children, it will continue to be. And that doesn't mean that they're bad, or that the culture is bad, or that the country is bad. It's their normal. And as much as we see this and judge it here in Mexico, It happens in the United States. The difference is, in the States, we have the Humane Society. And I know Canada has something very similar. In the state of Jalisco, there is an animal protection agency, but we never see that here in the Costa Alegre. What we do see are groups like Pro Animal, Dog Squad, people like Brenda Ramos, who work tirelessly to help animals in distress. Things are changing. You can be angry and judge, or you can do something to accelerate the change. Join a group, foster a dog or cat, rescue an animal, and don't be part of the problem. When you're walking your dog, please pick after him or her. Any questions on dogs? Okay, we're going to go on to holidays. Something we all love, especially the fireworks and the bombs. In Mexico, there are 3 major kinds of holidays. There are the statutory, the legal holidays observed nationwide and they're paid. There's 8 of them. There's civic holidays. They're observed nationwide. Employees aren't paid the day off though. There are 12 of them. Then there's the festivities, the festival days. There are 15 religious events celebrated by the church. Carnival, Holy Week, Easter, and more. And each of them have an event. There are 15 of them. So we had 8 legal holidays, 12, if anyone's counting, civic, 20, 15 that are religious holidays. Religious holidays usually begin 5 days before the actual date. So you can add that in. So you may enjoy the cohetes, the word in Spanish for the fireworks. They announce Mass. The priest is announcing that Mass will be starting. He is fined if he lets them off before 6 a.m., by the way. Not that who would go find the priest. But they're not to start before 6, and then they start being let off, and it's a call to Mass. That's what you're hearing. I used to tell my friends, if you hear the did you hear the fireworks? Yes. Okay, you're not a saint, because saints don't hear the fireworks. Then there are saint days. Remember I talked about first name saint days? There are 365 saint days. One for every day of the calendar. And children many times are named for the saint on the day of their birth. In addition, every town has a saint. And the town celebrates their saint day. In fact, Saint Day for a town, or in our case, even barrios, is so huge that workers that have migrated up to the States, if at all possible, they will come back for their town Saint Day. It's a huge celebration. So what do we have here? We have Barrio Nuevo, my neighborhood. That saint is San Felipe, and they will be celebrating really soon in February, and you will hear it if you live in the fraccionamiento of Barra. Barra itself has San Antonio, and they also celebrate Cristo de Ciclo, the one that the Jesus inside the church. Villa Obregón has Dia de la Candelaria. Melaque, we all know, has St. Patrick's Day, San Patricio, on March 17th. And then all of Mexico celebrates December 12th, which is Day of the Virgen de Guadalupe, who is the patron saint of all Mexico. The most important day is Dia de la Virgen, patron saint of Mexico. And her party and all the rosarios and all of the tradition starts in early December and continues almost to Christmas. And there's lots of noise going on. Okay. Mexico loves to party. And they're given, as we just described, ample opportunity to do so. Fireworks are their custom. This is very cultural. In the U.S., we see here fireworks on the 4th of July, New Year's, right? In Mexico, it's a frequent event for every big party, and they love it. Not us, many times, but they love it. I went and talked to the priest, who's become a friend of mine in Barra, about the fireworks. And I said, you know, Padre, that the fireworks do a lot of damage to dogs here. And they shake, and they're afraid, and they can't calm down, and their ears are sensitive. Could there be less fireworks? And he looked at me, and he said, no. Could there be church bells rather than bombs? No. In fact, he tells me, my parishioners are raising money for us to have more. He then said something that is all about cultural awareness. He said, I understand that you guys don't embrace this. I understand that your culture doesn't embrace this. But at the same time, we don't understand why you northerners treat your dogs like children. So is one bad and one good? No, it's cultural differences. So, words of encouragement. You are welcome here. You are welcome here in the Costa Alegre, and that is a direct message from the Barra Town Council, of which I am a member. They wanted me to say that to you. You are welcome here. The locals appreciate you, especially your giving hearts. They look forward to high tourist season, which is when they make more money. Cleaning houses, the hotels, the jobs, and the restaurants, and they appreciate your assistance in all of the events that happen during the high season to raise money. I appreciate you too, because without you, I couldn't raise the funds that I do for scholarships and school repairs and the Angel Tree and my angel projects. But when two cultures come to understand each other, we can make the necessary adjustment to live in harmony. We are not here to change our hosts, but rather enjoy them. We are not, and they ask that we not break their laws because, oh, we're in Mexico. Don't park your vehicles on the sidewalk. Don't smoke in restaurants. Please refrain from walking partially dressed down the street. They see that as disrespectful. Yes, this is a tourist town, but it's still their home. Be appropriate. Beach attire on the beach. Cover up after the beach. Your dog is not welcome in many restaurants, so please ask first or get a table outside. And as mentioned above, please pick up the bleep after your pets. Learn Spanish phrases and attempt to use them. It means you value the people and they love it. Listen and observe. There's a reason behind their actions, as strange it may seem to you, so assume the highest. Assume their behavior is grounded in their upbringing and belief system as much as ours is. In closing, unlike Americans or Canadians, Mexicans have never been driven by some deep-seated compulsion to be constantly busy and produce more than what they need. In the Mexican cosmos, life is to be enjoyed, not blindly worked away. in the Mexican view of the world at large, it was irrational to them to always be in a hurry, to set deadlines for everything, to count passing time, be the bearer of bad news, and to upset anyone at any time for any reason they cannot fathom. Given Western influence, traits are slowly changing, but it is not expected to change totally. Mexicans do not strive nor want to be like Northerners. So sit back, chill, watch the sunset, smile at your neighbor, and enjoy your time here in the Costa Alegre, the happy coast. Thank you. Okay, we have time for questions? Good, a couple of minutes. Yes. What do they feel about cats? And cats don't have functions as a dog. A cat is a cat. A mouse, someone to catch the mice, yeah. A worker. Yes, I've never seen any of my neighbors with cats purring them to sleep. Anybody else?
I have a mic.
And there have been a lot of cats poisoned over the years. And that's changing. Yes?
Going back to the quinceañera, is it traditional or one more popular for a couple to go around? I was in a restaurant this afternoon, a couple came around with some papers and stuff trying to raise some money for the quinceañera.
I don't know if it was the quinceañera or was it the upcoming spring queen and a cute little girl in a beautiful little dress.
It had a number 15 on the paper, right?
Oh, no. That's kind of taking advantage of the foreigners being here. Here, yes?
Yes, you mentioned the importance of relationships in Mexican culture. Can you comment
Okay.
comment on the importance of social status, say, a Mexican professional versus a worker?
Yes, there is social status, absolutely. And it is money-driven, and sometimes it's not money-driven, it's name-driven. Who you're representing with your name. When I first came here in the 60s, I hung out with this fisherman boy, and then I met some guys from Guadalajara who had homes down here. Barra used to be the playground of rich Guadalajarans. So I remember walking into Sunset Bar one night, and the group of fishing boys wanted me to come sit with them. I was an anomaly, a red-headed American. And then here are these rich boys over here wanting me here. And it was a pool, and they did not have anything to do with each other. And it was hard for me to, choose. I won't tell you which one I chose. The next one. It's a tall one. Next question. It's not on.
After living almost 20 years here and experiencing numerous hurricanes and not understanding the lack of preparation, and it's almost like when you talk to people, it's on the way. We've had numerous direct hits, we've had numerous near misses, and the same answer is, I don't think it's
God will provide.
God will provide.
God will protect.
God will protect.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's hard for me to understand that there is a monster hurricane coming.
Yes.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
And
Culture
and
clash. Culture clash. God will. God will. It's really important for when say, I'll see you tomorrow, that you add, si Dios quiere, if God wills. And I'm still called on it if I forget. They will repeat back to me, I'll see you tomorrow, and then I hear, si Dios quiere, because it's all if God wills. How do we know if we're going to be able to go tomorrow? We don't know what's going to come tonight, so it's embedded in them what God wills, and it's in every conversation. Si Dios quiere. Yes. Oh, we good? Well, this has been awesome. Thank you for coming, and they are adding one more session on February 20th, I think, so stay tuned. It might be about insects, poison insects. Okay, Pastor.
Whenever she starts talking about insects, she starts. Anyway, we're looking forward to the sessions we're going to have this year, and we're also looking forward to all of you coming back. And like I said, for this session, we take up there's a hole in the back that you're willing to donate to if you like. And like I said, half of it, Elaine has it there, half of it goes to the presenter, and the other half goes to our cultural awareness area here in the church.
And my portion will go to my angel projects.
Okay, thank you. And anyway, I guess that will be all tonight. Feel free, if you would like to come and join us on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. We'd love to have you. Talk to you later.